Good to see you, Neil and Uli.
Hallo.
Wir fangen an. Evi, schaltest du vielleicht mal alle stumm, bitte? So, welcome to the German wine culture evening. This is Jan speaking. I'm very happy to see so many of you in this event. From my side, just a few technical aspects. We would like to record this meeting. This is just because some of the participants don't want to open all the bottles this evening. And there are some participants who unfortunately didn't arrive the wine this evening. So I think for those who want to taste one or the other wine later, you can take the recording and just watch the introduction of that wine and enjoy the wine. So we will make this recording available to everybody. We will do let's say at the middle of the presentation a short break. This is mainly to go to the restroom and for everybody to chat a little bit, to stand up, to walk 5 minutes around. I recommend you to go to presenters view and to pin Johannes window. So there is the functionality in Zoom that you can pin a single participant, and this will mean that that Johannes remains fixed, so you can see the presentation and you can as well see how Johannes is handling the wine and tasting, and let's say you see him presenting. The last thing is that Johannes eventually will ask you here and there some questions. And to answer these questions, just raise the hand. Use the functionality in Zoom. Go to participants, and then you have the possibility to raise the hand, and this will give us the feedback who answers this question, and he will get an impression. Let's see how many of you react on this. We have some more interactive elements which will be presented now by Hubert. Hubert, can you do the next technical introduction?
Yes, of course. Hello, good evening also from my side. I'm Hubert. We are still in the warming up phase. And we, if you read the invitation down to the end, you will recognize that we would like to do this a little bit interactive. And we'll do the interactive activities using the tool Slido. And for those who don't know it, it is very, very easy to use. And you should see now the Slido screen here. And I recommend to use a mobile phone or a tablet. So another device than what you're using for the Zoom, but you can also use the computer and open the Slido on a new tab or window. So either type in your browser www.slido.com and enter the code Z910, or just scan the QR code with your mobile device. And then you will enter this Z910 event that we will use to get some interaction with the wine tasting. So do this now, and we will start with 2 test questions just to get you acquainted with the Slido, and you will see it's very easy. And after each wine and in between, we will then ask you to go to Slido and answer some questions or give some feedback. So I hope you all have started Slido notes set 910, and we can go to the first Z910. 910. And if you enter this now, you will see the first question, test question. And please type it in, and don't forget to send your reply. So we just wait a little bit till everyone has joined. So nice, very nice. And then wait a little bit. So when the real questions start, then Dominic will do an evaluation at the end and will present this evaluation to you. So this is like an overview of the whole wine tasting. So just wait a little bit more. I have 42 replies. Everyone can use the mobile phone, the device. Just type it in. But there's no obligation, of course. It should be fun. Weißenheim Sun, I see, interesting places. Wait a little bit. Wow. I think that is this type of question. Next, I will stop this now. Oh no, let's wait until we have 50 replies. So
when will we start drinking?
This is a question for the chat. Okay, so next question is then to get used to the ranking. So it is just give a ranking about what is your mood now. Just type a star and send it. Yeah, very easy to use. So we will use this then during the wine tasting. And let's wait a little bit. You see the medium score is 4.4. I think we will get this up even higher as the event proceeds. I hope so. Yeah, let's wait until we have 50. And I think, see, you get the idea. So we can stop the slider now and then start the event. I stop the polling now and stop the sharing. Yeah, I think that you got the idea. Thank you.
Okay, Georg, now it's your turn to open the event.
Okay, I hope you can hear me well. My internet connection, so tells me my computer is a bit unstable, but nevertheless, we will try to do our best to get our message across. Welcome, everybody, to this new way of doing wine tasting. The German semester was challenged with the COVID, and we decided to take the challenge and to do many of the events online. When we came to the wine tasting, we said, how should this work? But fortunately, Jan and his team managed very well the whole issue, and together with some logistics effort and a lot of fantasy and a lot of improvisation talent, they managed at the end to get us all together for this wine tasting event. This event is sponsored by the German consulate in Italy, in Milan, and I'm particularly grateful to the Consul General Roland Klaus Krumrei that he adopted the German semester and helped us with financial and logistic support. Without the German consulate, this event would not have been possible. I'm also particularly grateful that we have as special guest the Pfälzer Weinkönigin, or in English, the wine ambassador of Palatina, Saskia Teuke with us today. You will hear later something from her. Particular thanks also to sommelier Johannes Winz, who made the long trip from Germany to Italy to get us acquainted with a lot of German wines. And many other people who helped to get this event done. I think I do not name everybody, otherwise we would sit here and will not come to the wine tasting anymore. So the idea of this wine tasting was, we are living in Italy, as the German semester is born, if you want, in Italy, close to Jersey Ispra. And Italy has a lot of good wines in Piemonte, in Toscana, and all over the regions. We name only a few: Barolo, Barbaresco, Chianti, Sassicaia, Tiganello, Brunello di Montalcino, Nero, D'Avola, Sagrantino, Gavi, Di Gavi, Arnese. And I will stop here because we have all known these names. And the German wines are not so well known, despite the fact that they are Germans, or many of us are Germans, and we are simply because we live abroad. So this opportunity is unique, in my opinion, and I'm very much looking forward to this new experience, not only in terms of online event, but also in terms of tasting a very good selection of wines. And I thank our sommelier for having made this excellent choice. And so I basically pass now the floor to who is next. Jan?
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Georg, for those warm words at the beginning, and saying thanks for the introduction. Yes, let's start to talk about wine. I prepared a presentation about the German wine growing culture because in the preparation we said what should we talk about, of course, about the regions, because I think it's very interesting to see where are the German wines coming from. And we have in total 13 quality wine regions in Germany, and 12 of them, from 12 of them I choose wines and do the tasting today and learn about those regions. Now we have a little technical problem. Just a little second and then we can move on. So what you can already do is to prepare the sparkling, because the sparkling is the first wine which we will taste. So you can pour the sparkling in your glasses. I guess you have prepared a sparkling wine glass. If not, it's not such a big problem to use also a normal wine glass for the sparkling, but well, it's important that you can prepare. Yeah. So, but I need the next slide then. So the next slide shows again a little bit about support and the cooperation. Of course, the cooperation is with the German semester in ISPRA. Yeah. You just go like that. Yeah. So I think everyone can see it. The German semester is, of course, was already introduced by Georg and the consular as well. There's another one written, it's called Deutsches Weininstitut. So it's a German wine institute, which is in charge of all German wines to present, you can say worldwide. And they have delivered a lot of pictures and texts, figures for this presentation to update you with the newest information. So once again, 13 quality wine regions. We have more than 100 grape varieties here in Germany. We have more than 2,000 years of wine culture. And I just can welcome you to a trip to Germany's wine growing areas. And we start now with the first wine, because I think at the beginning, no, yeah, the next one, please. No, sorry, I just wanted to introduce you to that wine tasting. How do you taste wine? Because you all will sometimes sit together, you will enjoy a glass of wine, you drink it, but tasting is a little bit different, let's say, because when you have a glass of wine, and maybe I get the next one to show it directly with a wine glass, then you can see that the most important part of tasting is doing our nose. So I show it with the second wine, but doesn't matter. So you have it. You take the glass first of all here at the stem. That's important because some people do it like this, which looks very nice, but it warms up the wine. So better is really to use a glass like that. The second thing is to smell, and to have a lot of aroma flavor to smell. You say shake, or yeah, shake the wine in the glass, and then you can smell. Then you find the aromas. And you all got some papers. I show one here in the camera. I hope you can see it. So you should all have it at home. And now you can rate and make some notes. So you can say here, for instance, wine number 1, the nose. What do you smell? When you taste the wine, you maybe someone who has no experience with tasting will say, okay, it smells like a wine. Yes, but important is to have associations in your mind with other things like fruits, flowers, herbs, something like this. And when you smell something in your wine, like an apple, then write here maybe apple. Yeah, this is for making notes. And then you can also say for you yourself, I prefer that. I prefer what I smell, and I rate it with 3, 4, 5, whatever you want, or even 1 if you don't like it at all. Then the second is a palate. But before I come to the palate, maybe one test for you all with the wine. When you smell a wine, you have a lot of flavor there. And I tell you, 90% of the job, which is called tasting, is made by the nose. So you can make an experiment. You can drink the wine. Can you hold just? You can drink the wine, and at the exact time, you close your nose like this. Then you drink. And then you open the nose. And you will see, you can do it also later with another wine. Then you will see that when you just have the wine in the mouth and you close the nose, you don't have the flavor. You can't smell it. So what you taste is acidity, sweetness. These are things which you can taste, but the nose is very important for the flavor. Even when you have it in the mouth, you smell it backwards through the nose. And that's why this is very important. The second is the palate. So everything, when you have the wine in the mouth, all associations, all what you think the wine is tasting, or that you can note here. Then the finishing is when you swallow it. So what you feel at the end. And of course, also general comments. And with this, we make a Slido test after a Slido ranking after each wine, so that we can also a bit compare our ideas about the wines. So this is just a little introduction about wine. I just saw, I haven't done it with sparkling, because sparkling is a little bit different. Sparkling has a so-called mousseux, really the sparkling, where it's bubbling. And so the to taste a sparkling is a little bit difficult. But also here, of course, you can do it, but you shouldn't shake it. When you shake it, the bubbles are going out. So that's the main difference. So just smell a little bit and then try to find out more flavor in the mouth. By the way, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write us in the chat. My best buddy Jan here is checking always the chat. We try to answer as many questions as possible. As I told you before, we are talking today mainly about wine regions, about the single vineyards, the people behind, not so much about the production. But if anybody has a question, don't hesitate to send us in the chat. We try to answer. Well, the next slide is about the sparkling wine. Yes, so we have the first wine in the glass. And I thought before I tell you a lot about the theory, it's better to start with the wine. It's otherwise a very dry event, and that we don't want. So we start with a sparkling wine from Palatina. And it's a real pleasure for me that today the winemaker, Bacharacher, has joined us in this Zoom meeting. So maybe we can just switch her and she can say a little bit about her sparkling. Now we see if it is technical possible.
Yes, thank you very much. Welcome from Germany and Palatina region in the world outside. So I'm very happy that you will test tonight my Pinot Blanc sparkling wine, which is made by method Champenoise, traditional method. And I will just a little story tell you, because we are a family-driven winery. So my husband and me overtook the winery 2010 from my parents, and my parents overtook 1975 from my grandparents, and it was just a winery. But during their studies in Geisenheim for enology, they learned about the method Champenoise, and my father wanted to drink every Sunday with my mother a bottle of sparkling wine. And in the 70s in Germany, the sparkling wine was not so high quality. So he thought, okay, we do it ourselves for every Sunday in the year. So we need 52 bottles a year. And he started with his first 52 bottles of own sparkling wine. And now he let you taste with him, because from this own production for themselves, it started to getting a bit bigger, because they did, and we do still everything ourselves from the vineyard until the ready sparkling wine, all in our little winery here in Palatina region. And once, if you come to Germany, please visit us, and I give it back to Johannes. Have a good evening and cheers.
Thanks a lot, Barbara. Thanks from Palatina. Oh, from Italy to Palatina, so that's correct. So we have some details about the sparkling, a little bit Barbara told us already. We have to share now the presentation with you again. Next picture, yes. I have also the bottle here to see, but most of you will have the bottle at home, and you can also have a look on the bottle. Yeah. So, yeah, genau. So this is a picture of the winery, Weingut Wilhelmshof in Siebeldingen in Palatina, and we are tasting the 2016 Pinot Blanc Brut. And some details here about this wine. The location is Siebeldinger Königsgarten, which is vineyard, not a single plot, but a bigger vineyard with new red sandstone, loess loam, and shell limestone. So each of the wines I'm presenting, I'm telling you a little bit about the soil, because the soil is for the wine production, especially when you do a quality high-end wine, very important. The grapes, the wines, they take out of the soil the power, the minerality, and that makes at the end a big part of the quality of the wine. So we have some aromas which I have written here. Quince, pears, a very elegant structure, and I just recommend you to take the glass, to smell, and to find your own expressions, because this, what I have written there, is just something written from someone who tasted it, like me. But everyone has another nose. Everyone will find also some other fruits or, as I said before, flour or something like this. So it's very interesting. By the way, the brioche, which is written there, is something which is coming from the yeast. So as you probably know, when you produce a sparkling, the sparkling is for a long time in a bottle together with yeast. And after an aging of several months or even years, you do a so-called degorgieren. I think in English is also degorgieren, similar. So you take out the yeast, you fill a little bit in the bottle of sparkling, and then it's for selling. And especially sparkling, you should drink them quite quickly, because from the moment it was filled, no, not filled, it was, how you say, closed, let's say, and then sold, the bubbles are starting to go a little bit away. So better to drink a sparkling in the beginning. Now we have, and Georg mentioned it already before, the Pfälzer Weinkönigin, or in English we call it the ambassador of the Palatiner wines. And I welcome here Saskia Teuke.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me.
Hello. So we make the picture big. Yes. Hello, Saskia. Yeah, it's a great honor to have you here, and that you found the time to join this meeting and to tell us a little bit about your job, about Palatiner. Yeah, just let's talk about. Maybe the first question: how do you become a Weinkönigin? What is it? Why? How have you done it?
Well, here in Palatiner, we have an election for the becoming a wine queen or a wine ambassador, but it's different to a Miss election. So we have to prove some tests or some exams. We are get prepared by several courses about tasting seminars or some school lessons about the soils here in Germany. So many different types of teaching and learning, how to present wine, how to speak in front of a big group of people. And yeah, we have one evening when this election starts, and in the end of the evening there's one queen and maximum of 4 princesses, and the best one wins.
That sounds very exciting and very interesting. So in the moment you were chosen as Weinkönigin, what has followed? What is your job to do then?
Actually, if there's no Corona, we travel around Palatiner and visit many festivals here, many wine festivals. We are to find on some trade fairs of wine as well, to make advertisement for the region, for the wines, for the winemakers. And yeah, we give people the chance to make new memories with wine and new experience. So we can teach as well. So we are prepared for teaching you to make new possibilities for you, and yeah, share our wine knowledges with everyone.
Fine, then let's teach us. Tell us a little bit about Palatiner. What makes this region different to others, special? What can you tell us about that?
So my region, Palatiner, is the second largest region of wine in Germany. And we are the biggest region of the Riesling grapes. So Riesling is our king of wine here. He's the king, I'm the queen. And yeah, we have from north of the wine street in Bockenheim until to the south to Schweigen-Rechtenbach. It's close to to France. Many different types of soil there, and I think this is one of our possibilities to bring these wines up to the higher level, to the high class. So we have wonderful winemakers here with many ideas of celebrating wine in every way. And yes, it's a wonderful thing here. I love my region and I love to be the queen here.
I think this is important to be the queen there, to love the wines. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the wines, or how do you see the Palatiner wines in comparison with other wines in the world? And how do you see the future of those wines?
Well, I think because of these different soil types and different thinking times of the winemakers here, we have many youth winemakers. They bring fresh air in this really traditional job, and I think that is one of the possibilities to our wines to get bigger and to a high level. We have so good, have to call it I don't get a word.
In German, we can translate.
Yeah, the best requirements, there it is, the best requirements for successful wines here worldwide. We can decide if we want to make wines more sweetened or more dry, or create our own ideas in wine, or create our own histories and fill it in bottles, and it's a wine. Isn't this fantastic? So I think this is one of the biggest plus points here for this region and for the world market of wine.
Yeah, thank you very much.
One question here from Jutta. Jutta, my term here as wine queen is 1 year. So I got elected on the 2nd of October this year, and I have to give my crown back next year, October as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for this interview. And maybe at the end, tell us your most preferred wine.
Oh, different question. I have no favorite wine as well. I prefer wines in different situations from different varieties. If you ask me right now, I would say one of my favorite grape kinds is Sauvignon Blanc, because I love the sourness and the freshness and this combination. Maybe if it's made out in a wooden barrel, I like it as well. So that's a quite good one, but I love to try many new ones. Like
hey, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I thought your answer will be any wine from Palatina. At least it's from Palatina, but okay. I think you will join us a little bit more in this tasting, but thanks for your words, and let's come back to our presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if there are any questions, just ask, okay?
Perfect. The next. All right, now we show you the next page. Some words about Palatina from my side, especially from about the region where the wine maker Bacharacher is situated. It's the landscape of Südliche Weinstraße. We say where chestnut, figs, and lemons ripen. So it's a very mild climate, maybe the mildest climate of Germany, and it has been measured by counting more than 2,600 hours of sunshine per year. Today, I heard here in the region in Italy, it's the most rainy one in Europe. I didn't know that. So Palatina is there a little bit different. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. As I told you before, soils are very interesting and very important. Here we have 3 pictures of 3 different soils. The soils which are important for the sparkling wine, which we have tasted just before. And it's also shown in which age, in which time of our planet the soil came out. So some are, as you can see, 250 millions of years old, others only 3 million until 15,000 years old. So for instance, Löss is a special soil which came up after the last ice age and or in the ice age, and covered big parts of Europe and also other areas in the world. So there you can see a little bit about that. So now the family, Barbara, you have seen already. And yeah, the winery dates before 1341. So it's a very, very old winery. And there you can see how long the history of wine growing is in Germany. We can go back even around 2000 years ago when the Romans brought the wine to Germany, and especially in Mosel Valley, in Rheingau, but also quite early in Palatina, they started to grow the wines. And you can go to the next one. Yeah, some words about the sparkling production here at Wilhelmshof. This sparklings have won a lot of awards. So Wilhelmshof is very well known for the sparkling wines, not only in Palatina, but even in Germany. And I told you just before how sparkling is produced and that it is lasting on yeast for several time. And here they say each bottle was at least 15 months on the yeast. And as longer the bottle was on the yeast, as finer, more elegant is the structure and the bubbling. Yeah, this is very important for the sparkling. What was written before now is very important to work sustainable. Yeah, to go just one back, because I think this is very important, that Wilhelmshof is working in a very sustainable viticulture with farming that respects the soil, environment, and grape wines, as well as the people. So we go further. Yeah, here's some words. Let's say the unique selling point, the specialty here for Wilhelmshof is the slogan "Less is more." So it's important, and this is not only in Wilhelmshof, we see it later also in other wineries, that it's better to let the nature do the job than to influence too much in the vineyard and even later in the aging. Yeah, that's why we call it sustainable farming, which is here very important. Yeah, and some word, you know, I'm a sommelier. The sommelier normally is working in a restaurant, recommending the perfect match between food and the wine. And that's why I at least have some slides about the wine-food pairing. Of course, it's very nice to start a dinner with the sparkling, but what I always recommend, don't forget that sparkling can match with food also very well. Just try it. It's a very nice experiment. So before we go now to the next wine, I have some information about the German wine in general, and can just welcome you to discover the German wine regions. We have, as you saw already in the slide before, 13 wine regions which belong to Germany, which over 100,000 hectares. Today we taste 12 of them, and we have so several wine areas to discover. Yeah. I have a little technical problem, sorry, but with the online tasting, now. So now we go through the regions, and we start in East Germany. After reunion between East and West Germany, the two areas Sachsen and Saale-Unstrut were, let's say, integrated in the wine rules, which we already had in West Germany. And since then, we have those two areas which making very interesting and sometimes also special wines. Later we will taste, for instance, a Goldriesling from Sachsen, which is a grape variety you don't find anywhere else. The production of both areas is quite small. We find 500 hectares in Sachsen, 800 in Saale, Unstrut. Just to compare once again, in complete Germany, we have 100,000 hectares. So this is not so much here. Then we have a look in the northwest of Germany. Here you can visit the regions Ahr and Mosel, which are affluents to the Rhine. Rhine, one of the biggest river in Northern Europe, is very, very important in Germany for the wine growing at all. And of course also the affluents like Ahr and Mosel. And then you see here, for instance, Mittelrhein and Rheingau. Yeah, I have written here the hectares, and you see that Mosel is quite important with 8,700 hectares and Rheingau at least 3,200 hectares. I think it's number 8 in Germany, but we will look at it later when we go through the wines. And I said already 2,000 years ago, the Romans started to cultivate wine in Germany. And then another part of Germany is along the Rhine. Maybe you wonder whether wine is always or more or less only growing along rivers. When you are at a river and also other water, but especially rivers, there is a special microclimate. And don't forget that we are quite far in the north. So wines need a certain amount of sunshine, of warmness. You can't grow wine in Scotland, for instance. This is not possible, or maybe it's growing, but the wine is not tasting well. So better to drink whiskey there. But here you have a lot of rivers, valleys, where you find the wine, and especially the reflect of the sun to the water, which is coming back to the vineyards, makes the microclimate in those areas so special that the wines have very good possibilities there to grow and to give high quality wines. Then you find here along the Rhine, Rheinhessen, which is the biggest wine area with almost 27,000 hectares. Nahe, which is another affluent, 4,200 hectares. And the smallest region in Germany is Hessische Bergstraße. And yes, unfortunately, we don't taste a wine today from Hessische Bergstraße. At the end, we decided 12 is enough. So I hope you agree. Then we go a little bit further to the south. Palatina, we have talked a lot about it already. So the next one then is Baden. And Baden, on the map, you see all the parts in green. Is this correct? No, not only green, green, a bit bluish, yellow. No, I need to check. No, green and bluish. Yellow is already Württemberg. They all belong to Baden. So Baden is a very, very big area going from Heidelberg in the north until down to to Lake of Constance. So that was the word. Lake of Constance in the south, and with 15,800 hectares, very important, number 3 in Germany. And then another one, which is Stürtenberg, 11,400 hectares, mainly around Stuttgart. Also there you find the wines in the small rivers, small or bigger ones like Neckar, for instance, Rems, Moor. These are all small rivers, and in those valleys you find the wine. So what else? The last one is Franken. Franken is around Würzburg. And yeah, interesting there is that they have another form of the bottle. Not all wineries are using it. So for instance, today we're going to try a wine from Bickel Stumpf. They decided not to use anymore the special bottle, but it's a so-called Boxbeutel, so a round bottle, which you might have seen already. It's only allowed to use it in Germany, in Franken, and in some parts of Baden, and in Portugal. So welcome to Portugal. I know there are guests from Portugal, and they might have seen this bottle already there. All right, so rosé. Let's go to the next wine.
Just to remind you about the Slido, we go to the next wine. So your input for the first sparkling wine will be closed, and you can vote for the rosé then.
Yeah, maybe Hubert, you can help us, because when everyone has done the Slido, I think we also check how.
Yeah, please don't forget to
for the people.
Don't forget to cast your vote in the Slido, because we will, in the end, we will have an evaluation of everything. Just to wait a minute. So this is for Weißburgunder. And send your vote. Score is still changing.
So I think we can go on. Eh? So with
okay, we stop the voting. I stop the sharing, and we can continue with the next wine. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you all have seen a little bit the voting and how it's going on. I saw quite high rankings, so congratulations to Barbara in Palatina. It's a very nice. It was a very nice start for us here in this tasting. So let's go to rosé. So now we change the bottle, and we have the Handschrift A. Maybe the next slide, please. No, this doesn't have it. Next slide. Yeah, the next slide is from R. So maybe we can also check now with hands up, so you can tell me who has ever been in a German wine region, for instance, who has been in the Ahr Valley, because it's a small one, but very nice, interesting. Has anybody of you been there? And we can check who is raising the hands. In the meantime, I can tell you a little bit about the wine. So we are tasting the 2019 Pinot Noir, or in German it's called Spätburgunder. The name is Handschrift Blanc de Noir, from the cooperative Daganova in Dernau. So most of our wines we are tasting today are from wineries, from single wineries, family owned normally. But I have chosen one from a cooperative, because when you see the structure in Germany, you find many cooperatives. And of course, behind cooperatives are also people working for the wine to produce, so and to make the best out of it. only two have been in the region. Very interesting. So you can learn a bit. Fine. The Auwelle I showed you before on the map is quite far in the north. It's even not so far from Bonn, Cologne. Many people living in North Rhine-Westphalia, in that area, Bonn, Cologne, or even a bit further north, Düsseldorf, etc., like to go to the Auwelle for hiking and, of course, also for wine tasting. And the Auwelle is quite small, quite narrow, mainly with slate. And this makes the wines a little bit special, especially because the Ahr is producing mainly red wines. So also here we have a red wine variety, it's Pinot Noir, but in this case, the winery decided not to make out of this wine a red wine, but a so-called Blanc de Noir. And Blanc de Noir means the red wine was produced as if it was a white wine. Yeah? And to bring color in the wine, you have to ferment the color, the full grape, where the colors are in the skin. Yeah? And when you ferment the full grape, you bring color into the wine. Or you can also heat up, which is not the best, but you can do it to bring the color in the wine. And in this case, they haven't done it. And so it's slightly rosé. So it is not completely correct here to talk about a rosé, because a rosé normally has even a little bit more color, but I found that this is a very nice wine for this category, let's say, just to have this red wine, which is not a red wine. And so let's taste here. And we smell in this wine. And we find out, oh, this is my opinion, it's especially very fruity. Yeah? You have not only what was written there, peach and pears, but you have even a little bit red fruits, yeah, maybe red currant a little bit. The wine is very fresh, and when you take it on your palate, it's a quite animating wine. You even find a little bit the feeling of a red wine, just a little bit, yeah. So we call it adstringent adstringent in English, but this is coming from the red parts of that grape. And what else? Yeah, but at the end it's also quite mild. The residual sugar, also the sugar which is still inside, is 8.2 gram, which is almost so-called half dry. Yeah, we have in German trocken, which is dry, halbtrocken, or semi-dry, you can say. Semi-dry is better. And then the next one is sweet, or even so-called edelsüß, which remains for the wines which really very high sweetness. Wines which we are not tasting today, but are still quite common to produce in Germany. Yeah, this is about the wine. By the way, I'm writing always also the price of the wine, just that you have a feeling for the price-quality relationship. Yeah, to keep this in mind. What does mean handwriting? Of course, handwriting tells us about the special way to produce the wine, and it shows that the passion of the wine growers of the cooperative are really in that wine. These are wines which are authentic and expressive at the Auwelle. So at the end, it's a brand name of the cooperative for that kind of wines. Yeah, the wine culture has a very long tradition in the Our Valley. It is possible to trace it back to the year 770, proved by documentary evidence. The Romans already discerned the Our Valley as the ideal site for wine, which led to early colonization and viticulture in the district Dernau. So, and Dernau, this is a small town in the Our Valley, and Daganova, what is the name of the cooperative, is nothing else than the Latin name of that small village. So it was already founded by the Romans with the name Daganova, nowadays called Dernau, but well, the cooperative decided to choose this Latin name. Yeah, no other Blauer Spätburgunder is as lively as the one from the Our Valley. At least the people from Our Valley tells this all the time. But it's, let's say it's true that this is a Spätburgunder from a really cool climate. So the Spätburgunder Pinot Noir from Our Valley is normally quite elegant, fine, but many wineries use oak. So they put it in barriques, French oak, to give them a bit body. Those who do this process very well bring out very nice, elegant wines, which you really compare even with Burgundies from France. And yeah, this shows the quality from our. The Wine Growers Cooperative is over 140 years in the Our Valley, and yeah, they look back into their history, and they still develop the traditions of the founding fathers. And what I really like is the slogan. Wait. So it's a slogan they have. The slogan is called 1,200 hands, 600 hearts, but one passion. Yeah. So of course, 2,200 hands are working there with 600 wine growing families behind. It's a very big company behind, and many people live from this business, which makes this important for the region, of course. All right, this was a wine from R. We do a Slido. Hubert, can you start the Slido for the R wine, please?
Yes,
yes,
Slido is open.
It's open, yeah.
Please cast your vote.
So we wait a second,
25.
and then
yeah,
we see already 25 ratings. I think we can close it.
Okay, I show what is the result. Nose 41 for the palate.
In the meantime, I'm
Finish.
asking, can everyone follow my presentation? Do you have questions? Shall I be slower or quicker or whatever? Just write in the chat if you have any recommendation, so that we can interact a little bit, at least. I know it's an online presentation, but we try to do our best. So we see the score is a bit lower than from the wine before, from the sparkling, but even here, some people give 5 points. So there are a lot of people who like the wine. And now the overall impression is with a score of 3.7, which is also quite good for such a, I would say it's a simple wine. It's a wine for every day. It's a wine just to enjoy, having the glass, not complicated, and therefore it's a very nice voting.
Okay.
So I think we can go on to the next. I need the presentation. So we go back to the presentation. Between the wines, I give you some information about the German wines. Here, for instance, white or red. So here we look only at the grape varieties. That means, for instance, the wine we had before was made of red varieties, but it was more or less a white wine. Here it will be counted under red wine because we count how many red wine varieties are growing. And we see that Germany is mainly, with around 2/3, a white wine country, and with 1/3 a red wine country. A couple of years ago, 20, 30 years ago, it was even more a white wine area. We have some areas like Ahr, where the red wine is dominating. There is Ahr Valley, by the way, very special, with 82%, mainly Pinot Noir, mainly Spätburgunder, and only 18% white wine. In no other area you find such a share, even not in Württemberg, which is well known for many red wines, or in Palatina or something like this. Everywhere white wine is dominating. So that is the share you see here. White wine 67%, red wine 33%. So let's go to the next chapter. We go now first to the white wines. And there we start in a very little wine growing area in East Germany in Sachsen. And we present a so-called Goldriesling from Schloss Proschwitz in Zadel über Meißen. Now it's becoming difficult for those who are not native German speakers. Please say Zadel über Meißen. It's a village there. But probably you know Dresden. Dresden is, let's say, the capital of this wine growing area. Meißen is, I think, the second biggest town in that area where the wine is growing. And Zadel is just a village around Meißen. But you see, even in such a village, you find an amazing building. It's a castle, Schloss Proschwitz. And they have done a good job to make there a very nice building out of it. Let's talk about the wine, Goldriesling. So we choose now that wine. I'm just showing again, but I'm sure you have been prepared. Me not, because it's still closed. Better to open. So first of all, to say Goldriesling has nothing to do with the Riesling. Some words about the name Riesling. We have the Riesling, the German Riesling, which is also called the Rhine Riesling. This is the main Riesling which we know, but the word Riesling found a way into many other grape varieties. The second biggest part of a so-called Riesling is the Riesling Italico, which you find in Italy, in the north of Italy a lot, in Veneto, for instance. And this is the same grape variety like in Austria, the Welschriesling. So this all has nothing to do with Riesling, but Riesling was always a very interesting and, let's say, high-quality grape variety, even hundreds of years ago, already well known, so that when other grape varieties came up, they have or were found, they have chosen this name to be similar there. And so the Goldriesling you find more or less only in the region of Sachsen. We have here a soil of red granite covered by löss loam. So two soils in one, which are giving the influence to the wine. And the wine, when you taste here, it's quite interesting because it's a little bit herbal. Yeah, it's not so fruity like the one before. Also, you find apple or pear, but it's mainly mainly a little bit herbal, and I don't know if you know the muscat. Muscat is not only a nut, which I think it's a nutmeg. No? Nutmeg it's called in English, but there's also the flower of that. And the flower you can buy dried to use it in the kitchen. And the smell of that I find here also in that wine. So quite interesting. And then when we take it in the mouth, it's a very dry wine. You have only 2.5 grams of sugar, which makes the acidity a bit stronger, because always when you have the combination between acidity and sweetness, as more sugar is in the wine, as less you taste the acidity, even if the acidity is quite high. Yeah, here the acidity is even not high with 5 grams. It's not high, especially not for German wines, but with only 2.5 sugar, the taste of the acidity is a bit stronger. But it makes the wine a bit more lively. Yeah, very nice is to taste such a wine with food, match it with food, because in the moment you eat something with a wine which has acidity, the acidity becomes smoother, so you don't taste it so much, and the other flavors become stronger, and that's why I always recommend to drink such a wine with food. Yeah, with only 16 hectares in Germany, I just remember again, we have 100,000 in Germany, only 16, all located in Saxony. Goldriesling is a real rarity. That they are all located in Saxony is what they say, but I know that 2 or 3 other wineries in other regions have already small plots with it to test or to try. But at the end, it's true. It's a Saxony grape variety. Yeah? And yeah, this was crossbred in the late 19th century in Alsace, so in France, and was a cross between Riesling and the so-called early Malingre. I don't know this variety. I don't think that you find a wine just made of that. So in this time, now you see why it is called Riesling, yeah? Because Riesling was, let's say, the father or the mother of this grape variety. But when you taste it and smell it, the link to Riesling is very low. We have later 3 Riesling to taste, so you will find out yourself the difference. Yeah, Schloss Proschwitz vineyards located around the town of Meißen. They have around 70 hectares, which is already quite big for a family winery in Germany, and especially in East Germany. Normally the wineries are a little bit smaller. I talked already a little bit about the soil, and yeah, what they say is the vineyards influence the wines with a lot of fruitiness and minerality, and I think especially the minerality you can find here also in Goldriesling. Yeah, some words about Saxony is with 500 hectares one of the smallest German wine areas. The wines are growing at the hills of the Elbe Valley around Dresden and Meißen. So you see again, it's around a river. And Proschwitz is the oldest private winery in Saxony. So it was in former time belonging to bishops. Yeah? It was part of the church and came later to the people called zur Lippe, Prinz zur Lippe. So, was heißt Adel auf Englisch? Noble, ne? For nobilities, noble people, called Prinz zur Lippe. And yeah, this is a guy, Dr. Georg Prinz zur Lippe, who's driving the the winemaking nowadays and the complete winery, and I just found out what he said. It's our wine is an authentic product. That taste and aroma are derived from the local terroir and microclimate, which create unique wines. So we can do the Slido. Hubert. It's open, I see it already. So just give your ratings for nose, palate, finishing, and overall impression.
Meanwhile, I can use the time. We have one question. There's a question from Esther, and the question is, how did German winemakers cope with the phylloxera?
So phylloxera was, let's say, a disease for the wines. It came from America by end of 19th century, landing in France, especially in Bordeaux, and at the end it was a disaster for the European winemakers at that time. The phylloxera is like an insect which is eating the roots, and when the roots are gone, or when they are when they can't work anymore, the complete plant is dying. And this was also a big problem in Germany. A little bit later than in France, maybe a little bit less, but at the end, there was just one solution. And the solution was to use wines from America, which are resistant against these phylloxera. And nowadays, you find in Europe, I can say 99% of all wines planted with the roots of those American wines. So that means the varieties like Riesling or Pinot Noir or what else are Auftropfen. For those who are Germans who know what I mean, they are put on the roots of those American wines, and this is at the end the trick to avoid that the phylloxera is coming back. There are only a few wines which are not like this, but maybe you can compare it with the vaccine. So even not all are taking it. It's useful for all, that many have taken it. Yeah, just a score for the overall impression, 3.5. I think the acidity is for some a little bit hard, but just recommend again, taste the same wine. I guess you won't drink all now, so keep it for your next lunch or dinner and try it again. Langsam, my very best. So. All right, let's go to the next wine, which is Silvaner. Yeah, we have to go back one slide just to see the winery. Silvaner from Bickelstumpf aus Frickenhausen in Franconia, Franken. Franken is an area which belongs to Bavaria. So, and we have here the Silvaner in Frickenhausen. There you find mainly shell limestone. And this makes the wines, gives them a high minerality. It's very interesting. So unfortunately, I have to pour out a little bit of the Goldriesling to get the next wine, the Silvaner number 4. Okay, and we change the bottle here. I hope all can see it. This is Bickelsturm. This is a bottle I mentioned before. It's not a box bottle. It's a normal Burgundy bottle, but this winery decided to use them. Yeah, it's a very elegant, smooth wine with minerality of limestone, a little bit yellow fruits, meadow flowers. Let's see if this, what is written here, will be found also in the wine. I just can invite you, if you smell or taste anything else, if you have any idea, if you say, in this time, I think it's more pineapple, then you can write it in the chat. It's very interesting here to interact. And the impression of wines is different from person to person. You never can say it's only this flavor. Yeah, it's just a direction and not, yeah, the final decision you have to make. Taste too. And what you really find out is that it has a very very strong flavor. First of all, yeah. Even the wine is quite cold. Here you smell a lot, and the second impression is it's, for me, not first of all fruity, but really this kind of minerality. You even smell a little bit stone is quite obvious here. When you have it in the mouth, the taste is creamy. There I have more these yellow fruits, yeah, a little bit peach. So for me, a very, very nice wine. Yeah, why is a wine like that, you can say? Franconia is known as the region of Silvaner. Maybe there's no other area even in the world which is cultivating Silvaner like that. And with 25%, Silvaner is the #1 variety in Franconia. So very, very important. Most of the other areas, Riesling is #1, but here it's really Silvaner. So interesting with Silvaner is many grape varieties have their own special taste. What can I say? For instance, Grauburgunder has normally a little bit honey, also some nuts flavors. This is quite special or normal for those varieties. But Silvaner itself is probably not the one with the own flavor. It's a lot influenced by the soil. And here you have really the Silvaner from the limestone. That means that if you have a Silvaner from another soil, it can be very different. So we go on with the slide. Maybe you stop here that I can go on. I'm sorry.
No, we have a comment that it's mango. It smells like green grass.
Very nice. I can follow with both. Also, I think that the exotic fruit here is not the strongest, but yes, very nice. So we have the next slide. Yeah, what I mentioned already, that the shell limestone here is very important for that grape variety, and it's, in my opinion, probably one of the best soils, or even the best soil for Silvaner. Maybe there are other opinions, but this is when you have Silvaners grown on this soil, it's mainly very, very good wine. So it's they're growing close to the river Main, again a river. It's another affluent to the Rhine River, crossing, for instance, Frankfurt am Main. Silvaner Muschelkalk was growing around the village Frickenhausen and enjoyed all advantages of the Franconian climate and the limestone soil. And when you see now the next slide, you see a little bit about where it's growing. On the left side, it's a picture from the vineyard in Frickenhausen itself, yeah, and you can look down to the Main River where the boats are crossing. And down you see Würzburg, which is the capital of Franconia. Franconia has 3 areas. They are called Steigerwald, Main-Dreieck, and Main-Viereck. And the main soil is different in each area. So in Steigerwald it's so-called Keuper, in Main-Dreieck shell limestone, and in Main-Viereck sandstone. The winery is driven by siblings, Melanie and Matthias. They share the management, and they have 2 vineyards with 30-kilometer distance because I think it was the father called Bickel and the mother called Stumpf, if I'm right, or the other way around, I'm sorry. But when they married, there were 2 wineries coming together, one in Tüngersheim, one in Frickenhausen, and now the next generation has joined them completely, but they still work in both areas to produce wines, at least in the vineyard, but only in Frickenhausen they produce really the wine. The slogan of Bickel Stumpf is, well, they respect the environment, to support the biological diversity, not to forget the cultural identity, and that means to work slow. Yeah? No hurry with winemaking, and you produce wines like that. That's the meaning. And we can do the Slido. The next wine.
We have now 19 votes.
Me, I haven't voted yet.
Just swipe your rating and send it off. We have the nose and palate. Finish.
27 votes.
And the overall impression.
Yeah, 3.8. Very nice. So, but if Barbara is still here, the first one has still the highest score. The sparkling. Very nice. So let's go on. We have some more wines to go. I don't want to hurry, but let's taste the next wine. So now we go to, now we go to Baden. Baden, I showed on the map, is a wine area with such a big distance between the north and the south. And at the end, that means there are many different areas. You can't compare or you can't put all together and say this is typical Baden. So this wine here is from a small town called Neuweier. Neuweier belongs to Baden-Baden. Maybe you know this because it's quite famous spa in Germany. And not far away from Karlsruhe. This is the next bigger town. Here on the picture, you see the castle and the winery next to it. In the castle, they were used to have a very, very nice restaurant too. I think at the moment it's closed as far as I know. So now we go to the wine itself. It's a Pinot Blanc. The plot is Neuweier Schlossberg and others. So that means we are not talking about a single plot wine, but I know more or less where they are coming from. So the they call it Ortswein, so it's mainly from Neuweier. This is what is important to say. And the soil is granite weathering, a soil which you don't find so often in Germany, so it's a bit special, but also a soil which brings high minerality. And now we go to taste the wine. So we have in the smell, yeah, we have here written honey melon, and it's true. Again, I find this as my first impression, but of course also other fruits. I think in English it's yellow plum. This is you say Mirabelle in German. Yeah, something what I find out, and when you take it in the mouth. It's also very animating wine. The palate is directly full. It's full-bodied, and that makes the wine very round and quite smooth. So for me, also very, very nice, representing Weißburgunder. So the vineyards around Neuweier are located at the hills of Black Forest, close to Baden-Baden. As I said before, the soil consists mainly of granite, but also quartz porphyr, which gives the wine a high minerality and makes them warm and round. In the southwest of Germany, you find Germany's third biggest wine growing area with almost 16,000 hectares. Between Heidelberg and in the north to Lake of Constance in the south, shows a high diversity of soils, microclimates, and different wine types. The area is dominated by the Upper Rhine Rift Valley, which was in former time a very active tectonic zone. Even today, there are little earthquakes from time to time. On the picture, look at the picture, it's very nice. You see the Kaiserstuhl. Maybe we can do a hands up who has ever been at Kaiserstuhl, because this is a quite nice area. And those who are living here in Italy, but are also half based in Germany, might go sometimes from Basel to Karlsruhe, taking the highway. And then you see close to Freiburg on the left side, this hill, which was a volcano. And nowadays an inactive volcano in the Rift Valley, and it's Germany's warmest region in total. Those who know a little bit about the wine law in Europe, they might know that there are different zones. We have an A, B, and C zone, depending on the climate. And Germany, as a northern country, belongs to the A zone, but Baden. So Baden is the only one which is belonging already to the B zone. This has to do with, if, for instance, if you're allowed to add acidity or not, if you're allowed to add sugar or not, and something like this. So that's why they made the law many years ago. Nobody has been in Kaiserstuhl. I can't believe that. Go there. It's very, very nice. And now we're going to have, no, before we do that, the break, let us just do the Slido for that wine. I hope you enjoyed it. So the ratings are coming in. 7, 8. I don't know how many bottles of Weißburgunder were sent out. I think around 40. If all are tasting, we should have some more votes. think we can close, but maybe you can go on.
We can even leave the next thing is the break, so we can put the slide over.
Yeah, yeah. It's true. We can, but we can just have a look. Palette is 3.8.
Interesting for the palate.
Yeah, it's very strong in the middle.
Yeah.
Maybe go by 3. 3.5. But overall impression almost 4, so now 3.8. Yeah. So very close to the Silvaner from before. Okay, many thanks. Now we're going to have a little break, which we had announced already at the beginning. So maybe to use, to take some fresh water or using the restrooms or whatever. How are we going on with the technique here? The people can talk or not? Yeah.
I would say everybody who doesn't need the break can switch on the mics, use the time to chat, exchange, express your opinions. Just have 5 minutes, relax. Maybe if you can stop the recording, and then we will start 2040 in 5 minutes.
Now we show in the presentation a slide about the varieties which are growing in Germany. I don't know if anybody mentioned in the beginning that we do a quiz at the end. So listen carefully. One question will be about that, because we are talking about the varieties in Germany, and see that the most important variety in Germany is Riesling with 23%. The next one has only half of the percentage with 11.4, and also Pinot Noir with 11.4. So the second is Müller-Thurgau, then Spätburgunder, then Dornfelder, then Grauburgunder, Weißburgunder, Silvaner. And the next ones have then around 2% or even less. Yeah? It shows that we have a quite high diversity of varieties in Germany. On the one side, on the other side, you have to look from area to area. It's changing a lot. As you saw before in A, it's Spätburgunder by far #1. In Franken, Silvaner by far #1. Whilst you see here, Silvaner in total is only 4.5%. So it's not so much. Yeah? But it shows also that Riesling, Saskia said before, it's a king of the great varieties. And even if you say in German, der Riesling, I prefer to call it the queen of the varieties, because of the special elegance of this grape variety, which in my opinion, really no other white variety in the world can show. And this is really unique, especially for Germany. We will see later 3 different Rieslings, and I hope you will enjoy them. It's just different to white wines, to other white wines in the world. But before we go to the Riesling, we go to a variety called Pinot Gris, in German also Grauburgunder, or in Italy Pinot Grigio. Yeah? Klosterpforta is a winery in Bad Kösen, Saale Unstrut, so also in eastern part of Germany. It belongs to 3 counties, Bundesländer in Germany. It's partly in Thüringen, in Sachsen-Anhalt, and in Sachsen. So even it's so small, it's at the border of those 3 counties. And this variety, it became very popular in the last years. I think it's because it's quite easy drinking. It has not too much acidity. Many people have a problem with acidity, so I can understand that this became popular. And it's quite smooth, round, so normally quite easy to drink. In this case here, we have a Pinot Gris with only 2.9 grams sugar. So you see again, it's a quite dry one. but the acidity for a Grauburgunder, for a Pinot Gris, quite normal with 5.6 gram, which is lower than most of the other varieties have. Here is exactly the same soil like you found in Franken, the shell limestone. This soil came up millions of years ago when in Germany and also other parts of Europe there was an ocean. So this part of the land was under the sea level, and in that time the shells were dying on the soil, were collecting there over millions of years, and became. And now, when you see in the vineyards, you find sometimes really plots with so much or even more height of limestone, shell limestone, and you still find the rest of the shells. Very interesting. So in the middle of Germany, you don't expect to find shells, but they are millions of years old. So let's taste the wine. We smell first. And while the Weißburgunder before was still very fruity, this here has really more, or mainly, in my opinion, this nose of honey. This is very typical for Grauburgunder, and also here you can find it. Then I find, for instance, what is not written here, but I find strawberries, not strawberries, Stachelbeeren. Wer kann helfen? Stachelbeeren. Stachelbeeraroma. Stachelbeeren auf Englisch. I forgot. Then this, what is written here, fresh almonds, yeah? Very, very important, fresh almonds. Most of the almonds we eat were before burnt or in the oven or whatever, but they are sorted or whatever. But here we talk really about the white, fresh almonds, and this is something what you have. Yeah, gooseberry. Sorry, gooseberry. Gooseberry is a Stachelbeere. Yeah. Then when you taste it, you can also shake the wine in the mouth to have the flavor everywhere. So also here you see it's even it's a very dry wine, quite smooth. Yeah? Yeah, I think this is why this kind of is quite popular at the moment. Yeah, this is Grauburgunder. To mention something about the wine, just let us know in the chat. Now we go through this winery and area. We are talking about the vineyard, about the plot. It's called Fortenser Köppelberg. This is one of the oldest vineyards in the region from 1154. And has 11 hectares, shell limestone, as I said before, but not only Grauburgunder is grown in that vineyard, but also Müller-Thurgau, Portugieser, Blauer Silvaner, so some other vineyards. The next picture shows the area. The winery is not private. It belongs to the government. And it's quite normal that the regional governments own wineries. It's not just to make money with it, it's also to do researches about wine. So they put, for instance, fields with different grape varieties just to test if the variety is useful to plant in this area. And so they have an official order from the government to work also on these things. Yeah. So what about Saale-Unstrut? It's the most northern wine region in Germany. I don't know how long it will be. At the moment, more and more wine plots are starting in the north of Germany. Even you can find in Denmark, in the south, at the south coast of Sweden, south coast of England, more and more wine, of course, because of the climate change. So that means as warmer the summer will be in the future, as more possibilities are there for wine cultivation in the more northern, let's say. This is Saale-Unstrut is in East Germany, and again rivers, yeah, Saale and Unstrut. So both parts of the name are rivers, and but with 800 hectares, really one of the smallest regions, and with 80% white wine. Yeah, one food pairing again. German white wines are supposed to be matched with food. So enjoy your starters and lighter dishes with a glass of one of the wines I presented you before. You will see that they become even smoother and more expressive than how they taste without food. By the way, most German wines have more acidity than those of other countries. This makes them elegant. In combination with food, the acidity feels less intense on the palate. Yeah, I said it in other words already before, but it's worth to mention it twice. And now we can do the Slido, because the next slide here is not about Saale-Unstrut. Slido about Grauburgunder. And then we do another Slido to compare the white wines we had before. So just remember, we started the white wines with the Goldriesling, second was Silvaner, then Weißburgunder, and then Grauburgunder. But first, just the rating for the Grauburgunder. So we have overall impression of 3.5. So a bit lower than the ones before. I think, well, we call these wines with acidity a bit crispy in the mouth. Those wines are not directly everybody's darling. So that's why for sure some votes are a bit lower, but we are still on a quite high level here. So now we can do the score for all wines. I think Hubert is starting the next one. Yes. Now you can choose which one did you like best. But Hubert, there is a Grauburgunder missing. So you did Goldriesling, Silvaner, Weißburgunder, but not Grauburgunder. I don't know if you can change it quickly or.
Yes, I can change it quickly.
Yeah, thank you. So just wait, please, before you vote, and we start again. Now we wait for Hubert to do it. Use the time to send us a question in the chat if there's anything to ask. So no active polls. Let's enjoy the wine in the meantime. So now you can start. You can choose between the four: Goldriesling, Silvaner, Weißburgunder, Grauburgunder. And let's go. It's funny to see. It's like a racing. Number one at the moment, Silvaner, then Weißburgunder, Goldriesling, and Grauburgunder. These could be names of horses, no? Like a horse racing. And Silvaner. Yeah, we don't change really the ranking. Silvaner is number one, Weißburgunder number two, Goldriesling, and then Grauburgunder. So it shows more or less the votings we had for each single wine. Yeah, and I can understand that the Muschelkalk is, the Silvaner Muschelkalk is very popular because it's a great wine, great stuff. Can we close, Hubert, or have we to wait for more? I think there's no change anymore.
Yeah, we can stop.
Thanks a lot. And we go back. Yeah, when we talk about wine, we need also to talk about climate. One before, climate. You can prepare. By the way, before we go on, I told you, or we wrote you an email that it is good to have the red wines not too warm. So I don't know your room temperature, but I guess it's around 21, 22 degrees. So now it could be a good time to put them maybe outside on the terrace because it's cold enough, just for the next half an hour. And then when we're going to taste the red wines, they have the right temperature. And the second thing is, which I unfortunately forgot in the beginning to say, it could be good to pour the Dornfelder, so the wine number 11, into a bigger vessel somewhere, because especially red wine likes to get some oxygen to become smoother. And this is something what I just found out when I here prepared my tasting and tasted it, that especially that wine could be better not to just open and pour in the glass, but to pour before in a vessel. Karaffe auf Deutsch, falls da jemand noch fragt, was es sein könnte. So next was to talk about the climate. Yeah, I took a picture which is called, where the plot is called Sonnenberg, because you find a lot of names of plots in Germany which relate to the weather. And grapes can only grow in regions with a suitable climate, yes, as I told you already before. Germany's wine regions enjoy some great advantages. Less sunshine than South European countries, but enough for being moderately warm and well balanced. Next is, there's enough rain in summer, because when the wines are growing, then you need a little bit rain, not too much, but there's enough. And during harvest, the winemakers absolutely dislike rain, because when you have to go out to do the harvest and you find the grapes wet, better to stop it and better to wait for a dry day. Sometimes it's a bit dangerous even to wait too long, because when there's a lot of rain in autumn, then the grapes can very quickly get diseases, can explode really, and then it's more and more difficult to make out of them a good wine. So that is a big advantage that we have normally, especially in October, from mid of September, let's say, until mid of October, not so much rain here in Germany. This is very good. And we have mild winters, so another advantage for the German wines. Now, let's go to the Riesling. Riesling number one is from Mosel Valley. The winery is called Gebrüder Ludwig, and it's situated in Thörnicher. So we go to the wine, and we need just to change the wine, please. Thank you. With a little bit help, we can do it. We can manage it here. So, I know for a long time. I know the winemaker. It's Thomas Ludwig, and he is. I don't know in which generation now, but the winery is very, very old. I will show it later on a slide. The main soil in the more or less complete Mosel Valley, just a little bit upper valley close to Luxembourg, has another more chalky soil, but the main soil is slate. So slate is is bringing really the taste of the wines here, and the flavors are first of all the wine is representing the minerality of the soil. It's really, really high. If you ever have been outside in the nature when it starts raining, and it was not raining for long, and the rain is dropping on stones, and you have these, especially in summer, then this first smell of the rainfall from the stones, it's a little bit like that. Yeah, it's as if you would smell a wet stone, and this is typical for that wine. It has apple, mango, as I said, pure slate. Slate is very important. Let's taste it. Don't be shocked, 7 gram acidity. It's high, and the sugar is just 5.5. So when you take it in comparison, then of course still the acidity is high represented in the wine. But this is Riesling. Riesling needs acidity to be like that. This is typical, let's say. But it makes it fresh, very elegant, and for me, it's very important that the wine is in balance. So I wouldn't say that the acidity is really disturbing. It's balanced. It is integrated in the other flavors of the wine, and that makes the wine, in my opinion, very nice. And now we have a look into the vineyard, because it's really a treasure in the Mosel Valley. Many years under winemakers not popular because of hard work in steep, slow viticulture and tiny harvests. The vineyard is nowadays known for excellent quality, and well, slate is one of the best soils for Riesling, and Ritsch delivers 100% slate. So this is really nice and interesting. By the way, the wines from Mosel Valley were already 100 years ago known as one of the best in the world. You can see old menus of restaurants from that time where the Mosel wine was more expensive than a Bordeaux, and that shows the potential of that region. Sometimes it was forgotten, but nowadays you can see it very well again. Yeah, I try to show you from each winery one slide which is a bit different, because many slides show, of course, a family, they show the vineyard and etc. But here let's have just a look in the cellar. And the cellar here is you can see it's focused on stainless steel, because only in the stainless steel tanks you get such clean wine. Yeah, in wood, the freshness of a white wine is always a bit lower. That doesn't mean it's worse, but it's a question of what you want to make. Yeah, but when you want to make such a very fresh, fruity wine, then, in my opinion, it's only possible when you use these stainless steel tanks. but he has also barriques for some special wines, and he prefers to ferment, especially his high-end wines, spontaneously without help of selected yeast. So I don't know if you know that the yeast is part of the skin of the grapes. So when you smash the grapes and just wait, they start to ferment. This is how the people did 1,000 years ago, because they had no other chance than just to wait what happened. And then around 50, 60 years ago, the wine business started to use selected yeasts. That means the chemical companies are producing yeast especially for fermentation. You can do it, of course, but you are losing a bit the terroir, the speciality of that wine, because the yeast you find on the grape is part of the terroir, is part of that region. And that's why it's many wineries who want to make high-end wines nowadays prefer the spontaneously start of fermentation. So then, just a look on the couple, Mike and Thomas Ludwig. They follow with passion a long family tradition, as winery was already founded in 1628. As usually in that part of Mosel Valley, 80% of their wines are Riesling, but also with Pinot Noir, Pinot Blanc and Pinot Madeleine. In German, it's called Frühburgunder, Pinot Madeleine. They are producing successfully wines. We work traditionally. We do as much as necessary and as less as possible to produce high quality wine close linked to the origin. So this, what they mention, is reminding us to what Barbara Roth told us, or what I told you about the winery Wilhelmshof. Yeah, so many wineries are working like that. Quick view on Mosel Valley, just to have a feeling for that region. The Mosel is meandering through hills and makes a beautiful landscape. Hands up, who has been there? just have a look. No, not like that. I need it here on the Zoom. Yeah, there's a possibility to say hands up. But I guess already many have been there. Oh?
Let's see. Give them some time.
I give them some time. Yeah.
Because we have some questions.
Okay. Then I just finish to say that Mosel Valley is with 8,700 hectares, one of the biggest areas in Germany, and is located between Luxembourg and Koblenz. Now, questions?
Okay. You were talking about growing wine in the north.
Yeah.
So there are two questions. Maybe growing them in Scotland. Then Candice asks if these attempts to grow wine more north makes sense, or if this is just, let's say, the run to have the most northern wine area.
Yeah, first to Scotland. Scotland is has too much rain, in my opinion, and I don't think that the climate change will change this so much that we will find in our lifetime, at least, the wine in Scotland. Yes and no to the other question. It makes sense on the one hand because we don't have to discuss that there is no climate change. Of course, there is one. And why not thinking about producing wine more northern? But also, yes, there is a kind of run of being the most northern one, of course. This is always the same. Maybe going back in the history of the German wine growing, the history of the German wine growing, until the 30 Years' War. This was from 1618 to 1648. Until that time, we had 6 times of the hectares than nowadays. So it was in Germany 600,000 hectares of wine growing. And that means in that time, there was already a kind of climate change. So there was a weather which was much warmer than nowadays and helped the wineries to produce wines even in areas where nowadays is Niedersachsen or Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. And when you go through cities in the north, you sometimes find streets names with which are related to wine, where you say, why is this called like, let's say, Rebgasse or something like this? Where is it coming from? And it's really just the history. And during the 30 Years' War, the climate change completely means it became much colder, and both the destroying of the landscape in the war and the change of the climate has stopped the wine growing in Germany in this or to expand this in that area, so that we now have a much smaller area. So it is not completely new that wine is growing also more northern. How many have been in Mosel Valley? Just 3. Just 3, imagine. Yeah, please.
So there is one question from Efi. This we will not answer because it was already answered. She asked which wine area we are not tasting today. Then there is another question. Hessische Bergstraße. Okay. Then there's a question from Fritz. What acidity depends on? Only the garb or anything else too? The garb. Garb.
No. The acidity.
Grape was meant.
Pardon me?
Only the grape or anything else?
The grape. It's a grape. It is mainly the grape. Second, it's the climate. And then, yeah, that means as colder it is, as more acidity is coming out. This you can follow up very nicely when you compare different vintages. So when you have, let's say, 3 Riesling from the same area, or even from the same winemaker and the same plot in different vintages, you will see that the acidity is changing slightly from year to year, depending on the weather which was in that year. So this is also a big influence. But yes, the grape is important. Riesling is from its own. It's born with acidity. Let's say, yeah, it's normal for this variety.
There was another question from Dominic regarding Salle Unstrut. Was there a major input on the winemaking caused by the reunification? A major impact on the winemaking by the reunification?
Yes, it was, because the system has changed. Before the meaning of wine production was really to make a lot of wine. Yeah, this was important. There was not really the sense of quality, but to be honest, also in West Germany at that time, this was not so high developed. Yeah, and with the reunion, there was a change of properties. So more and more people started to drive their own business, and this had a big impact of the grape quality, of the wine quality. Yeah.
Okay, then maybe last question in this question seconds is, how important is the temperature fluctuation between day high temperature and night low temperature?
Also very important, but I would say it's a bit more important in southern countries. You know that in many countries, of course here in Italy, especially in the south, but also in Spain, you find day temperatures of 40 degrees in summer. This is quite normal. And only if there are regions where it's cooling down in the night, you can produce elegant wines. So maybe you can produce wines, but they are very white and full-bodied, and in my opinion, not so nice to drink. I mean, it depends on your taste. But when you want to make a really elegant wine, where you find a balance, and it's like a game between the acidity and the sweetness and other flavors, then you need this difference between night and day temperature. So we had the what was the rating of the Riesling? I haven't seen now. Yeah, 4.0. Perfect. I see you like Riesling. Very good. Then we can go on with the next Riesling. Thanks. It's fine. Overall impression, even 4.1. Perfectly. Yeah, Riesling is unique for Germany. I just can repeat. So next slide is about the next winery. And now we are going to Rheingau. Rheingau is, yeah, I tell you later where Rheingau is exactly, but it's in the middle of Germany, let's say, in the middle of those western wine growing areas. And we are enjoying a Riesling called Magic Mountain of the winery Lights. So, yeah, we changed the bottle. Thank you. Put the bottle here. And, well, Riesling. It's the vineyard is called Rüdesheimer Berg, and Rüdesheimer Berg is one of the best vineyards in Germany. I explain you later a little bit about that in one of the next slides. The soil here especially is quartzite with gray and red slate. Again, stones which bring a lot of minerality into a wine. When we smell here in that wine, maybe you can tell me in the chat what you smell first. Papaya, interesting. I smell also something which is not written here in the aromas and the flavors, but something which is which you find quite often in young Riesling. Yeah? And we have here Riesling from last year, so from 2019, which is still very young. Any other ideas? It's lemon. For me, it has a lemon taste. Yeah, and these kind of citrus notes is, as I said, quite typical for young Riesling. And here, for me, the really first impression. Yeah? The exotic fruits are a bit behind, but I can tell you, if you age this wine in your cellar 2-3 years, the picture is differently. Then the citrus notes are moving away a bit, and those like exotic fruits, maybe peach or something like this, is coming more. Yeah, it's passion fruit. Passion fruit, yeah, which belongs to the exotic fruits. Yeah, but it's true. Mm-hmm. So I know you have another different, because now it's very nice to compare the Riesling from before to that Riesling. You feel that this wine had a bit more warmness. Yeah, Mosel Valley, it's more cool climate than Rheingau. Rheingau the vineyards in Rheingau are all located facing to the south, so they get a lot of sun during day, and Rheingau has not so much rain. Rheingau has around 300, 400 liters per hectare, I think it's called. So it's in comparison with other areas in Germany, not so much. Yeah? This is a specialty because of the topography. The most rain is coming from west, but as the hills of Rheingau are going from west to east, the rain is going away. It's going through until the next hills close to Frankfurt, and the rain is falling more there than in Rheingau. So it's a bit special. This makes also the alcohol a little bit higher, yeah, because there was a lot of sugar which you were able to ferment into alcohol. Then we have a residual sugar of 6.5 and the acidity of 7.2. Especially when those two are quite similar, then the balance is very nice. Yeah, the balance between acidity and sugar. Yeah, going to the next slide. Rüdesheimer Berg, Johannes Leitz is a winemaker, and with Rüdesheimer Berg, Johannes Leitz is cultivating wines in a centerpiece of Rheingau. Some single plots of that vineyard, such as Rottland and Schlossberg, which you can see here on the picture, belong to Germany's Grand Crus. Yeah, Grand Crus is, in Germany, we call it große Gewächse. And we took this from the French wines because they have Grand Crus. Yeah, we took this. Now you see Johannes Leitz himself. The Leitz family dates back to 1744. But when you look at his history, his relatives who were producing wines passed away when he was just 14 months old. But he got the passion for wine, and he started with the wine business and took over in 1985 after training as a master winemaker. And at this time, the winery had a size of 2.5 hectares only, and he made out of it from 1985 until today 120 hectares family owned, and is even producing wines of another, I think, 40 hectares, which are belonging to other people. So this is a very big production for a German winery. And the success is coming from his style of the wines, which is very popular, and yeah, that he really can show with his wines the terroir of the Rheingau. And the second is that he quite early started to export the wines. Yeah, the export of German wines is quite low, but some wineries know that it makes sense to export wines and to make them popular in other countries. And that's why the wine is having an English name. It's called Magic Mountain. With this name, it's very easy to sell also in other countries. And as you can see, he built up a very nice, modern, puristic wine house. Here is a tasting room, but he still lives, of course, in the Rheingau tradition. I think it's very important that wineries are going on in that way, building up the future, and don't stop developing the wine business. One picture here of the Kloster Eberbach, a monastery, because Rheingau is a place of tradition and culture. Castles and monasteries are part of the landscape. In 1775, the Spätlese was discovered in Schloss Johannisberg. Spätlese, that means that in former times, even until I think think around 30 years ago, it was about the government to decide when the harvest is starting. And then they said, okay, from now on, all wineries, all winemakers are allowed to harvest. And normally they started, of course, why not? And then there was a history that this monastery belonged to a bishop in Fulda. And they had to get the allowance to start from that bishop. So they sent out someone from the winery and to tell him that he can give the go to harvest because the grapes are ready to take from the fields. And this guy had a big delay. He arrived around 1 week later, and as the monks at that time were believing it's better to wait for the go from the bishop, they didn't start before, and they were a bit afraid what could happen. And then they saw that it makes even sense to wait, because as longer you wait, as higher the sugar is in the grapes, and as more delicate and fruity wines you can produce. And this was a start of changing the mind how to harvest wines. And the development, when I tell the end of the story, nowadays the winemakers are looking on the physically ripeness of the grape. So they don't share about a date, they don't share about how many sugar is there inside. No, for them it's very important that the physical ripeness of the grape is it's coming, and then they do it. And this makes the most elegant wines. So this was discovered in Schloss Johannisberg. Schloss Johannisberg, sorry, because Kloster Eberbach is another castle, monastery which you see there. And this here was used as scenery for the famous movie Der Name der Rose, or the name of the rose, probably you know it. So Rheingau is quite interesting to visit. We do the slider between that wine to see what the Magic Mountain is about.
Oh, you get some positive comments for the nice pictures you selected. And there's a comment somehow in the wine tasting, anyhow, the wine tastes better than more wine you taste. The taste is getting better than more wine you taste.
Du musst mir als Co-Host.
I will answer.
Then we have a question from, let's say it's 2 questions from Edwin. How long is the storage of the different wines? And is there a difference in the storage of the different corks, bottle, in let's say, cork and other closures?
Screws. There are different screws and cork.
Yeah, I understand. First, you think they're going to be better. No. But now at the moment, we are testing the best grape variety of Germany. It's Riesling. So I'm not surprised to hear that you think they're going to be better. The second thing is, of course, I haven't started with the best wine. That means when you start with, let's say, a strong, very delicate, interesting wine at the beginning, then it could happen that no other wine after that can reach this, and this is a bit problematic. So when you set up a wine tasting, you start with let's say the normal day-to-day wines, and then you go up and up and up, which with stronger wines, more alcohol, more full body, etc. So this is the answer I can give. And the second is storage. I don't know exactly what you mean with the time of storage, because at the moment we are drinking more or less very young wines. It's from 2019, and for instance, Riesling is not a wine which you store long in the winery.
Yes, I know, but anyway,
yeah,
but
you can store them, and especially Riesling, you can store them quite long at home. They change, of course, the flavor, but I have some Rieslings 20 years old in my wine cellar. When I open them, I enjoy them very much, but they're different, of course, to what we show now. About the closures, well, cork has a problem because around 10%, and this is a lot, 10% of natural cork closed wines have a so-called wine mistake, and it's a failure. Yeah, so most of them you don't feel, you don't taste really. You maybe taste and think, could be a bit better. Where's the fruit? But it's not so bad. I drink it. Then some have the cork taste quite strong, and then of course you say, oh no, please better don't drink it. At the end, it's very bad when you have maybe bought a wine of 20 euro, 50 euro, 100 euro, whatever, and you find out after a couple of years in your cellar when you want to open it that this investment was for nothing because it had a cork. So when you go to store the wines in your cellar with different closures, the screw cap, and most of the wines we had today had screw caps, is becoming more and more popular because you don't have this, you can't have this cork taste. And when they then the wineries put a little bit less sulfate. Sulfate is the chemical which stops the oxygen in the wine. Then there is a rest oxygen in the wine which helps the wine to age. And for that, I think the screw cap is a very good closure nowadays to use. But this is a long discussion. We can discuss this another hour. So we have a voting with 3.9 over our impression for the Magic Mountain, so almost as high as for the one before. And we can go on with the next slide. And now I tell you a little bit about the VDP. In German, it's called Verband Deutscher Prädikatsweingüter. Probably you have seen that many of the wine bottles have this eagle. Yeah, the eagle on the bottle neck. Yeah, the eagle, and the eagle is a sign for an association called Verband Deutscher Prädikatsweingüter. It is the oldest national association of fine wine growing estates anywhere in the world. In 1910, 4 regional associations joined forces to form the Verband Deutscher Naturweinversteigerer. This was a name at that time, because at that time it was the best wine was a so-called Naturwein. And those regional associations from Rheingau, Rheinhessen, Rhine-Pfalz, nowadays Pfalz, and Mosel, Saarruwer, nowadays called only Mosel region, were primarily concerned with promoting quality and preserving the focus on natural wine. Today, over 100 years later, the VDP brings together approximately 200 elite wine growing estates from each of Germany's wine growing regions. And the members adhere to strict self-imposed quality standards from the berries to the bottle. This is a statement from the VDP itself, but I think it's not just to make a nice sound around that. It's really true. Yeah, the Verband Deutscher Prädikatsweingüter has done for the quality of the German wines a very, very good job. And you can really say, if you're looking for a good wine from Germany, take one with the eagle. It's you can be quite sure that this is a good choice. Going to the last Riesling of our tasting, and then we go on with the red wines. This Riesling is so-called feinherb. Yeah, feinherb, you can't translate just like that. I told you before, we had this classification in dry, semi-dry, and sweet. And the meaning of feinherb is to find the real balance between sweetness and acidity, not just looking on the figures, not just looking how much sugar is inside, does it belong to semi-dry or not. And yeah, this is the meaning of fine herb, and is more or less in the region semi-dry, but yeah, this is the best explanation I can give. We go and change the wine, please. And now we are going to Mittelrhein. Mittelrhein is one of the smaller wine regions. And let's ask a question with hands up. Whoever has tried the wine from Mittelrhein, because it's not so common. And when you buy German wines, you find much more wine from other regions. In the meantime, I tell you a bit about the location. Bacharacher, Wolfshöhle, and others. So Bacharach is a small town, but very important wine town in that region. And there around is Slate. Slate again, like in Mosel Valley and in many other regions. But Slate can be different. And here the slate is a little bit mixed with clay. And this is at the hills to the so-called Hunsrück. Hunsrück is a hilly region in middle West Germany. And that's why they call it also the Hunsrück slate. So it's a special slate mixed with clay. And anyhow, it's bringing again quite nice mineral flavors. But here, and this is also because of the sweetness of the wine, the fruits are in front. You directly smell the fruits. And how it's written here already: peach, yellow plum, a bit floral. And then you have on the palate, yes, it's really, really nice sweetness. So it's a sweetness which is not covering your full mouth. Thanks to the acidity, it makes the wine very lively. And I enjoy those wines a lot, for instance, with Asian food. There's when you have Asian food with sweet sour sauces, or with sauces which are a little bit more spicy, hot, then this is matching perfectly. I mentioned before, we have also sweeter wines in Germany, but always when you find Riesling, even they are sweeter. Thanks to acidity, you have this game between sweetness and acidity, which you normally don't find anywhere else in the world. And this then with quite low alcohol. So here, for instance, is 11%. If it is sweeter, it goes even down with alcohol. Which I just mentioned before, Asian food. Asian food is very nice, but maybe I can give another recommendation. When you use fruits in the sauce with meat, not dark meat maybe, but let's say you do something with a chicken and you put some like pineapples or something like this in the sauce. It's very, very nice to match it. And on the other hand, it's a fresh, nice wine for summer on the terrace with a salad. So you can use it with many things. Yeah, Weingut Ratzenberger. When I prepared the presentation, one thing is that I get a lot of information from the wineries, and not all wineries are replying how you want. So I like Ratzenberger wines really, but you see, he is it's a small family. They're alone. They have a lot of work, and we had a little bit delays with pictures, so the selection is not so big. On the other hand, he gave me a picture here where you see a cellar, his cellar, which is the typical traditional wine cellar of a winery, how you have it in mind when you think about wine tradition. Yeah, so from that side, I liked it a lot. Here you see his storage of wine. So Bibliothek heißt auf Englisch auch? Library, genau. They call it, they like to call those cellars the library of wines, because many wineries are used to store of each vintage some wines to test them even years later to see the development of aging and the potential of aging of their own wines. Yeah, this is Jochen Ratzenberger from Bacharacher, and for me, the best winery in that region. But everyone can try others and decide himself. So let's do the Riesling Slido for that wine. Bacharacher Riesling is already open to rate.
We have just a little problem with the Slido in the moment, with the computer in the moment. Just a second.
But it's already going here. It's
Okay.
open and working. So now we need to, yeah. Thanks a lot.
There's no Slido for this. Please go to the next wine.
We have already entered the Slido here. 11. I don't know. Dann machen wir weiter, ja. Okay. Maybe if you find out the result later, then just tell us, Avi and Robert. So let's go on. Yeah, the last three wines are red wines. We have 67% white wine and 33% red wines, and so I tried also to find the balance between red and white in our tasting today, which relates to this share of red and wine in Germany. And the first red wine which we are going to taste is Pinot Noir, of course. Pinot Noir is the most important red wine in Germany, and Pinot Noir or Spätburgunder here from Nahe, from the winery Corell in Bad Kreuznach. Corell is much more known for Riesling, but I like his Pinot Noir because it shows a very typical one from Germany, but without bitterness. So Spätburgunder can get slightly bitterness, especially when the weather during the year was not warm enough, not good enough for the grapes, or when the harvest was done maybe a little bit too early, then you get this bitterness, and this you don't find here. So it's, in my opinion, a very well done Spätburgunder and typical for here. So yeah, the location is called Paradise. We will see later a picture, and you will agree it's a paradise. The soil is clay marl, and yeah, let's just go to the flavors, and we see here.
We can have, excuse me, we can have the Slido from the previous wine.
Okay, fine.
Okay, shall we continue with the Slido? Sorry, we had some technical problems.
Yes.
Okay, just a second.
No, they share. Yeah, there were only 13 votes, but anyway, as far as I can see. In the meantime, you can taste the Spätburgunder and mention again some flavors which you see here in the wine.
Screen sharing.
You must share.
Can you just tell us what the result of the overall impression?
Uh, 3,5, 3.5.
3.5.
3.5.
So it shows me that here are mainly people tasting which prefer dry wines.
That's 3.3.
Very interesting. Yeah, because I think the quality is high also of that wine, but it's yeah, question of personal preference. So let's go here to the flavors, and yeah, ripe strawberries is here mentioned, and I think it's not only strawberries, it's really very fruity red fruitiness and berries, yeah, which you can smell here. I have also a little bit cherry. Yeah, we have here in Germany, we have a cherry, it's called Schwarzkirsche. So it's a black cherry. I don't know if it is popular in other countries, but this is a smell which I have here in the nose directly. Yeah. Then here I mentioned flavors like cinnamon and vanilla. When you produce a white wine, you have several types of flavors. For instance, fruitiness is normally coming from the grape itself, and flavors like cinnamon and vanilla are typical coming from the barrels. So these are not flavors which you find naturally in the grape itself. They are entering the wine during aging in barrels. Right? A little bit earthy, and then we go to the palate. And yeah, soft fruit. For me, it has also a little bit chocolate, which is also more coming from the wood. But the barrels, the influence of the barrels is, in my opinion, not too high. It's quite nice balanced. Yeah? And yeah, obvious acidity. It's interesting that the both most not popular, but let's say the grapes which are grown mostly in Germany have both quite high natural acidity, Riesling and Spätburgunder. So some words about the paradise. Now you see the picture, and I would say the picture couldn't be better. The name says it all. The paradise is at Nahe. Yeah. And but most of the wines in this plot are Riesling. Yeah, but quite often where Riesling is feeling well, Pinot Noir can be planted too. And a very nice picture of the family. It's, the wine business is family business. Yeah, what is their focus on? And the focus is terroir. Terroir is a word coming from France, which we use in the wine language internationally, because terroir says in one word, which you can say in other languages not in one word, because it is a combination of several influences. And here you see it's soil, climate, topography, insulation, so the influence of the sun. And I would even go a bit further, because for me, terroir is also the influence of the winemaker, because the winemaker is part of the region, he's linked with that region, and this is at the end part of the wine. It's influencing a lot the wine. And to find the balance between those factors is Corral's objective. Yeah, Nahe is a small river. I said it's an affluent to Rhine River. Who maybe someone knows Bingen. In Bingen at the Rhine, the Nahe is entering the Rhine. And it's not so long. It's one of the smaller affluents of Rhine, but has a very picturesque landscape. And it's nice because long time we call it the German tasting room, as there are so many different types of soil in small distances. Interesting is also that especially the winery Corral, where we are tasting the wine from, says we don't like that. We want to say Nahe has his own terroir. We are from Nahe and we do what we can do here in our terroir. So they don't like that the wording about Nahe is diversity. Yeah. And from marketing point of view, they are right. It's difficult to make marketing with diversity. So with 4,200 hectares, it's number 7 of all wine areas. And let's try again to make the Slido about the first red wine. Sorry. We have in the meantime Slido about the 3 Rieslings. Maybe we do this first. I just see it here. I forgot to mention it. So just press for your favorite Riesling. And then you can tell me the question. Rotenfels. Ja. Rotenfels, genau. Rotenfels is in the Nahe region, and I think even the picture is Rotenfels. That is close to Bad Kreuznach in Nahe. So, do we have the result of the Riesling, or shall we first press for Spätburgunder? No. Number 1 was Thörnicher Ritsch. Very nice. Number 2, Magic Mountain from Rheingau, and number 3, Bacharacher Riesling. Yeah. And it's the same percentage.
Jan, so could you stop share screening?
Yeah. We stopped. So, any other question in the meantime? If you are sharing now the Slido, or?
Yes, we want to share the Slido. Just a second.
We have not yet rated the Spätburgunder, but from my opinion, when you here see the price and the price-quality relationship, it's also a very, very good deal to buy that wine. And I have tasted a lot of Pinot Noir in Germany.
So now you should
okay,
see.
now you see it. We have shared the Slido. And now everyone can see 44% for Riesling from Mosel. And Thomas, it's a good friend of mine, will be very happy to see that. Very nice, thank you. So then we go to the next, Slido. We wanted to do the Spätburgunder now. Spätburgunder ranking voting is open. So 7 have voted. Maybe some more votes are coming in. Let's see. 8. I would say we are waiting a couple of seconds and then. Oh, we have a quite high score with 4.3. Very nice. I think it's at the moment the best of the evening. Wow. Maybe we have here a lot of red wine lovers. 4.2, 4. Yeah, still over 4. Okay, thank you very much for the voting. So let's go to the next slide, the next wine. Now we're going to have the Dornfelder, and also me. I had put it in the vessel. You see here. In the when we prepared today the wine tasting, then Jan asked me if I need a candle here. Yeah, because many people know. Many people know about these pictures where you look in the candle and light and so on. So this is something what you just do when you put an old red wine in eine Karaffe in German, yeah, also in such a glass decanter. Yeah, decanter. Thank you, but this is French, but you can use it in English, in a decanter. And when this wine has so-called depot, so when there are rests in the bottle of wine aging, which has been abgesetzt, you can say, have been settled down on the bottom of the bottle, and now when you start pouring it, you don't want that this is coming into the decanter. And then maybe you can use a candle to look in the light with the bottle, and you see when this rest is coming in, then you stop pouring. So this is the only meaning of a candle. But those wines which we have, they are young, they don't have this, they are filtered, so it doesn't make sense to use this. You just pour it in such a vessel. So Dornfelder barrique, and I'm curious to see if this wine has a little bit developed with oxygen. It's from 2015, called Dornfelder barrique. Let me talk a little bit about Dornfelder. Dornfelder is a grape variety which came up in the, I think, 80s, 90s of last century. Yeah, we had the problem in Germany that most of our red wine varieties were quite light. Means when you produce a Pinot Noir, especially in the way they did it in that time, so with high quantity, this is the main problem then the wine doesn't get dark. Yeah? And also another one which was very popular at that time is Portugieser. It's a wine, or Trollinger. These are wines where you think, okay, you have a nice wine, but is it really red? Huh? In some regions in southern Europe could be even a rosé. Yeah? So that's why the winemakers started to think about how to get the German red wines a bit darker. And for that, they created, let's say, a red wine. They found 2 other grapes and made out of them a new wine, which is called Dornfelder. And then, in the beginning, it was used to be just to put a little bit from that wine into another wine to make it darker. But they found out that that their customers liked the wine as a pure Dornfelder. And so Dornfelder became very popular. But in the, let's say, under the professionals of the wine business, Dornfelder long time was more like a wine. Okay, it's nice to have, but not more. Yeah, very fruity, but not really elegant, not really structured. In my opinion, the biggest problem there was the age of the wines. As older the wine in the vineyard becomes, as better can be the wine from that wine, because the roots are growing all the time, going down, 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 down. And as deeper the roots are, as more they can take out of the soil, means minerality and other things to make nice wine. And nowadays you find older wines of Dornfelder, and that means you find also better Dornfelder wines. And Eva Vollmer is a very young lady who has started in 2007, I think, we will see later, the wine business, and created a Dornfelder in barriques, which became one of the best ratings in Germany. So it's close to Mainz. Mainz is the capital of Rheinland-Pfalz, County Rheinland-Pfalz, and yeah, it's a really wine city, because around Mainz there are a lot of vineyards which belong to that city. Yeah. The soil is löss loam, which is very typical in that area. So these are quite heavy soils, but not too wet. So they bring, yeah, not so high minerality, but they bring a very nice structure in the wine. And this is, especially for red wines, often very useful. So when we smell in, we have these kind of wild cherries. Yeah, it's completely different than a Spätburgunder. Yeah, it's completely different. Yeah. And if I wanted to compare it with other varieties from other countries, for me, I don't know if you know, it's Zinfandel. Yeah, Zinfandel is similar to Primitivo in South Italy. It has more flavors of those wines, but of course, not the same strength. Yeah? This can't be, yeah, because when you go to south of Italy and having a Primitivo, they are so full-bodied and get so much sun. This is different, but the flavors are similar. Yeah, blueberry, dried plum, a little bit anise. Yeah, it's also very interesting. Which reminds me even to Shiraz, Syrah. So I would say Dornfelder in a quality of a wine like this can nowadays really compete with wines, red wines from other countries. Slightly herbal. The herbal notes you find mainly in the mouth, and then the structure in the finishing. So I poured this in the decanter when? In the beginning, just before we started. Yeah, it has already changed a lot. If anybody has now not put it in the decanter and is tasting now, he will have more bitterness. But this is something which is really going away with oxygen. So this is a picture of Rhein. No, it's a picture from Eva Vollmer's vineyards, but they're typical for Rheinhessen. Rheinhessen is a hilly region. Germany's biggest wine region with around or almost 27,000 hectares. Why? Because it's quite easy to produce wine there. Yeah. Soil is nice, climate is nice. It's all quite close to Rhine River, and the hills are not too high and too difficult to work on, like in Mosel Valley or something like this. Yeah? So that makes also the wineries a bit bigger. Yeah? There are many wineries with 40, 50 hectares, whilst, for instance, in Mosel Valley, where it's more difficult to grow wine, the average of the wineries is with maybe 5 hectares or even less. Yeah? So a different structure, you really can say. The hilly landscape makes it quite easy to produce wines. Yeah, as I said, the winery use harvesters. With harvesters, I mean machines, yeah, like big tractors to harvest. And that makes the wines generally a bit cheaper. But this is not related to that wine, because this wine was not harvested with a machine. It was done by hands. Well, Eva started the business in 2007, so she is one of the youngest wineries here. And you can see Germany has a long tradition of wineries, and yes, most of the wineries go from generation to generation, but there is also potential for young winemakers who had maybe not relatives from that business, but they have the power to do a startup to produce wine. Yeah, and they open a restaurant, the Kostbar, so that they have a second business leg with COVID a problem without, you see, a very nice place. Yeah, sorry for making you hungry, but red wines insist on a good food match, as you can see. I don't need to tell more about this picture, but please vote for the Dornfelder. Hubert, maybe you can start. Okay, yes, let me.
So we have kind of one commenting question, which is Yuka saying that the wine is smoky.
Yeah.
And then we have from Mariella the comment, sorry, no comparison to Italian red wines.
Yes, I understand. Don't worry. But you have to understand that the German wineries want to compete when they want to do export. They have to compete with wines worldwide. So of course they try also to make the quality, yeah, as best as possible to find a way to sell it. And what was the first one? The first comment? Smoky. Yeah, smoky. I can agree. Yeah, absolutely. But also the smoky flavor is, in my opinion, coming more from the barrel, and with putting in the decanter is also going a bit more away. So we have a score of 3.9. Very nice. Not Italian, but German wine. 3.9. So let's go back to the presentation. Can you share? Yeah, vanilla is one of the flavors coming from the wood, which I said before, but there are others, and what here is dominating from the wood is chocolate, and even a hint of coffee mocha. Yeah, this is, in my opinion, and that's true. Yeah, vanilla is not so obvious here at the moment, at least. So we are coming to the last wine. It's already 10:10, and I thank you that you are still being with us. I don't know how many has left us in the meantime. Around 10. Yeah, okay. So, but it's fine that the rest is enjoying with us even the last wine. And we are going to Württemberg. Württemberg is a region, I told you before, around Stuttgart, and was used to be the country of Trollinger and Lemberger, two varieties which you don't find so often in other areas. Lemberger as a variety has much more potential to become a very, very nice wine, elegant wine, good wine, much more than Trollinger, because Trollinger, yeah, is by its own not so intense. You see, it's a very young couple and another startup story, which I will show you later. Thank you for giving me the wine. Lemberger, maybe you know Austrian wines. Lemberger is the same like Blaufränkisch. And Blaufränkisch is in Austria very popular to grow, especially in Burgenland and yeah, and around. Ah, welcome to Austria. So you know Blaufränkisch, and maybe the guys here from Austria tell me later if let's don't compare with Italian wines, but maybe with the Austrian wine. This wine here. Lemberger vineyards around Laufen. So it's also not a single plot. It's more the story about the wine, putting in barrels and making the very nice red wine out of it. The soil is so-called shell limestone under Les Loam. I explained before about both soils when they have been developed. And of course, shell limestone is much older than Les Loam. So you can imagine that the Les was able to cover during the Ice Age the shell limestone. And now you find both, and both have an influence on the wine. So let's go to taste this last wine for today. The blueberries and blackberries are here really strong. Yeah, it's very, very intense in the fruitiness. And there's something which I also find out here, which is not written here, but I don't know in English, eucalyptus. Huh? We need to find out eucalyptus. Maybe someone knows. Eucalyptus.
Eucalyptus, it's the same.
No, it's the same, no? Eucalypt, or also gum tree. Yeah, it's a flavor which is here not so strong, but you find it also in the nose. And drinking it, I would say that the influence of the wood compared with the two others is here a little bit stronger. So it also depends on which barrel you are using. And when you're using a so-called barrique, which has a certain volume of 225 liters, then it's made out of oak normally, and gets toasting. So toasting means it was burned out. And when they burn it inside, this toasting can be slightly toasted, medium toasted, or a bit stronger toasted. And I'm pretty sure that these barrels were at least medium, but probably even some of them a bit stronger toasted. And that's why the influence is stronger here. So what I wanted to say is barrique wines are not same like barrique wines, can be a bit different. We have quite high alcohol, but this is normal. Red wines always have a little bit higher alcohol, also in comparison with sugar, which is here very low, 1.4. But this is different. On the palate, you don't feel this acidity like in the white wine. It's a different impression. So picture about Württemberg. I said was used to be the region of Trollinger and Lemberger. Trollinger, by the way, is also called Vernatsch. Maybe you have been in South Tyrol. Südtirol has a lot of Vernatsch, so it's quite common to produce this grape variety. And but nowadays there are young wineries, winemakers. They try to make the best out of the region, and it's very interesting. It's number 4 under the German wine regions with 11,400 hectares. Yeah, about the winery close to Heilbronn, Wiebke Krüger and Tobias Hirschmüller founded a startup in 2013. Without wines, he was able to create elegant wines from the beginning. The picture shows us the Lemberger vineyard in which the grapes of that certain wine were growing. And the couple again in their own vineyards. They have just started with 0.6 hectares and expanded already to 12 hectares. Of course, it's important to have a certain amount of hectares to produce the amount for a business which helps you to survive. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to produce just a bit, and yeah, you need also to sell. Wine is a business. So good wine and sparkling can make out of any minute a nice moment, I think. These are very nice words for the end. And we are not at the end. We now do first, before we do the tasting, we do the voting for the Lemberger and then the voting for the best red wine. So let's start with the Lemberger Reserve.
So Candice has heard that oak barrels for red wine have been sherry barrels before.
No. And I have been working in the sherry business for long, so I can explain you exactly about sherry barrels. What you have in mind probably is that former sherry barrels are used, for instance, to finish a whiskey or to produce other spirits. Some of them go into the wine business, but this is, yeah, these are niche products. Yeah, this is it's not worth to talk about now. But sherry barrels have 600 liter and are made of American oak. So the difference between French and American oak is that they have a different structure. And auf Deutsch heißt das Poren des Holzes, also like the holes, the small holes of the wood are bigger in American wood than in French wood. That makes the surface of the wood bigger, and the influence of the American oak on wines is stronger than of French oak. So these barrels are completely different to what we are used here to, what we are used to have here. On the other hand, they are also American oak barriques, and they are mainly used in the New World wines, like in, let's say, California, Chile, whatever, and also in Spain a lot. Yeah, this, yeah, they want these flavors. It's stronger vanilla, a bit more coffee. So this is just how they want to make a wine. So we have a 3.8 score for the Lemberger, and maybe now you're going to choose your favorite red wine. So let's see. So we have 15 votes.
We give the wine lovers a few seconds.
Yeah. Are there still 40 participants? Yeah. In the meantime, I can tell you that the next step, and more or less the last step for today, is a quiz. We have prepared a quiz with 10 questions, which you can answer in a multiple choice way in a slide or two. And yeah, I hope you will enjoy it. It's not an exam, don't worry. We don't tell anybody about the results. It's just for fun and to see, yeah, to test yourself a little bit, what you got to know and what you were interested in to know about German wines. Yeah, I think there's no change anymore. Spätburgunder has won, and yeah, it's nice to hear that Spätburgunder from Germany, which is most important variety, has also a very high score in our ranking. So join the quiz. Join the quiz. 6 users have already joined. Don't hesitate to start. As I said, it's just for fun. So, very good. 29. Come on, we have 40 participants. Let's go. 30. I hope all take part.
Yeah, so here in Ranco, the mood is extremely good, I have to say.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we did a mood question in the beginning with 4.4. I have here written it down so that I know it. So now we need to do at the end again a mood question.
Yeah, we haven't prepared that one.
Similar high, or if it went down. 32. So I think the quiz is starting in the moment we start. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Should we start the quiz? Is it okay for you,
I
Johannes?
think everyone had enough time to join, and we have 33 participants now.
All right, then we start.
It's going to 10:30 already.
Then we start. I have to say that there are 10 questions. You have 20 seconds to answer each question. So not a lot of time, but 20 seconds for each questions. So let's start now. The first question. Let's go.
Sorry, I was wrong. It's an exam. Yes, all were right. Perfect. The question was too easy. Let's try with the next one.
Next one.
Countdown 7, 6, 5. You remember when the teacher in school said time is over? That's was not good. So 13 with 13 is the right answer. 71% has answered correctly. Next one. Yeah, 81%. I think I mentioned it twice. Of course, Salo brut is the most northern one. Next question.
Yeah, don't panic. Here's the next one.
Sorry. I don't want to push you. Of course, Riesling. Riesling, 91%. It's correct. Weißburgunder is a very nice grape, but not the most important one. And next one. Yes, 84% are right. Because where is Sangiovese growing mainly? In Italy. So wines like from like Chianti and many others are made out of Sangiovese. I think we can go on. Yeah, 40%. This was a little bit more difficult to remember a figure like that. Of course, I can understand. With 27,000 hectares, it is more than a quarter of the complete wine growing area. So Rheinhessen is really big. Next one, please. This is something which I just mentioned in the very beginning. Yeah, but 89% remembered. So we have a result. It's not becoming green. No, it's green. And number 8. Yeah, yes, Württemberg has a lot of red wine, but in percentage, the highest amount of red wines has with 80%, over 80%. Mm-hmm. 2 more questions. Number 9. The screen. I don't know if you need it. With 84%, the right answer. Of course, it's not about to value the wine or to honor. No, it's just to represent. And last but not least, number 10. Great. The quiz is done. Silvaner 56%. Yeah, not Grauburgunder, not Spätburgunder. Silvaner is the typical wine variety in Franken and is also the most planted one with 24%. Thanks a lot. And I think now we get an overall result. Robert, is this right? And yeah, sorry that I have, what is this? 9 of 10. And der Jürgen ist der Gewinner, Familie Sokol. Congratulations. Even me, I made a mistake. Wow, I didn't know that. Very good, very good. And Mir San Mir, this is from Bavaria. Huh? That's fine.
Excellent, Familie Sokol. It took some time. So the time was 2 minutes, 7 seconds, but in the end had all the right answers.
Great, great, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope it was a little bit fun at the end. We just go one slide back to the presentation. Hubert, have we done everything what we wanted? Hubert?
Yes, everything is done. The slider is finished.
Yeah, but I think we wanted to do a rating with help from Dominic. Dominic, can you hear me?
So, question is to Dominic, whether he has his evaluation.
Oh, this is a bit loud.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear now me and see me?
Yes, Dominic, we can hear you. I just make a small introduction. As we can't do an overall rating with Slido so easily, Dominic has chosen out all the ratings which were done before to make a ranking of all wines. Is this correct, Dominic?
It is, yes. So just a few words on this level. Can I share my screen for that?
Someone has to give it free to you.
I think you can share your screen.
Right.
Stop that one. No? Do we have to stop that one?
Stop the quiz, please.
Yeah, we do. We do. I see just what Jürgen is saying. That's funny. So let's try. Dominic, I don't know. Can we share his screen?
Yeah, try again.
I think you have to press the button yourself too, huh?
Yes, I did. Can you?
As long as you are managing that, we just see that Saskia is still with us, and that's just great. Thanks so much. And I think our boyfriend joined, and I hope you enjoyed that evening too.
Saskia, how did you like the wine tasting?
It was really, really good. Thank you for having us here. We enjoy the Pinot Noir right now.
Good.
Fine. We learned a lot tonight. So I had one wrong question, I have to say, but now I would never forget that point. And it's a good preparation for the election of the German wine queen next year.
Oh yeah, I wish you a lot of luck for that. Maybe you find you next year as the German wine queen.
I would like to join you maybe next time in Italy.
Yeah. This is not up to me.
Dominic, you can share your screen, but just go down to the lower end of the screen and press share screen.
Yes, Bildschirm freigeben. I do.
Yep.
Fritz, du
And
bist
then you
noch hier. Just to say, we are planning a joint project with Johannes and the diving club, and that might be the opportunity to bring Saskia here.
Okay. I'll be in for sure.
Everybody's drunk. Of course, I mean, after 12 bottles of wine.
So I don't know if this is working out, Dominic. If not, maybe you can just tell us the result.
I'm shot. You are there.
Okay, I'd like to sum up just to give you an impression what I see here on my screen from the analysis. So most of the wines, I mean, overall, the wines share a score between 3 and 4. A few only above score 4, and none of them really low. So all of them had a high, were appreciated. And I think what I can see here is that from a closer look, that red wines, I mean the Spätburgunder, Corel, and the Dornfelder barrique, they clearly, they won a lot on the nose. They were really hitting everybody else. But then it was the palate and the finish, they were already on the other level again. And we have for the Riesling, we have Riesling was a favorite wine, I would say, from the participants, especially the Magic Mountain and the Riesling Thörnicher Ritsch from the Mosel.
Don't you miss you?
Say it again.
Who cannot you? Big dog.
And so we have a wide variety, and from a few exceptions, I can say that the nose in many cases really already says what the rest is said. I just want to confirm what Johannes said in the beginning, how much is dominated from our overall impression from the nose. So I think I can say here a close correlation between the nose and what comes behind.
And what is the favorite, the number one in overall impression?
The overall impression,
number
the
one
favorite
wine.
one is the Riesling from Moselle.
Wow.
Riesling Thörnicher Ritsch.
Very nice.
And followed closely by the Sekt that we had in the very beginning.
Yeah. Very nice. Okay, thanks a lot, Dominic. Maybe you can go just one.
Welcome.
Back to my presentation. Even I have only slide to share with you what we don't miss. We don't want to miss to say. No. Prost. Thank you and goodbye. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.